thanks for tuning in. This is a real source for what is actually going on. Don't listen to those pinheads on TV and all those different news channels. Most of them probably still live at home in their mom's basement, don't you think?
I would think so. Or they're renters and they're making comments on buying homes. It's interesting that you say that, because there's you even mentioned to me earlier before we went on the air about the value of homes back in the past, like way back.
I want to cover that too.
We're going to cover that in this segment. So that's great. What else you got to cover?
I want to talk about rates and people using the buy down. So, and we're going to dive into yes, you can get a starting rate in the 4s, and you're going to let us know how we do that. And then knowing your numbers, whether you're selling a house, buying a house, what are the closing costs, and knowing your numbers if you're an investor, knowing what you're making off of your property is very important. And this is the number one thing a realtor should be providing to you. And if they're not, you need to call me, and we're going to give out those numbers in a bit. But we're going to go into all those numbers because it really is just math.
Yep, it absolutely is. We've got a lot of things to cover because a lot of things happened in the last couple of weeks, and we're starting to see interest rates not drop, but actually pop up just a little bit. And it's a little disturbing, but the amount of buyers are jumping back into the market. So I want to talk about their Fed announcement that they made 2 weeks ago and how that's impacting the market. I want to talk about self-employed borrowers in this show today. I want to talk about, we'll parlay this into Cleve's conversation on how you can get a rate about 2% lower than what the prevailing rate is and how that works. And we also want to talk about our class. Cleve and I are teaching a class. So if you listen, you got to write this down. If you have any interest whatsoever in buying a home or becoming an investor, and you want to know how the pros do it, and you want to learn how to accumulate wealth in real estate, you won't want to miss Cleve and I's class that we're doing on January the 24th. Now you got to go to WeBringYouHome.com to register. Okay. It's $15 a head, $25 per couple, but you've got to register because it's a small room. It's intimate. There's no sales pitch in this class. This is strictly how you can drill down on becoming a professional investor or learn how to accumulate properties. And you won't want to miss that class. That's going to be January 24th at 6:30 at the Ale House in Maitland.
Yeah, Lee Road in 1792.
Yep. So if you're listening to the show and you know somebody that would like to buy, I promise you, nobody's going to go in there and get sold some CDs or 8-track tapes or some type of a system on how to buy. This is the real deal. How Cleve and I have accumulated lots of properties over the years. So the things we did right, and we even did a few things wrong.
I did a bunch wrong.
Yeah, I did it right.
If I only knew now. So
if we only
knew then what I know now.
Isn't it the truth?
But I want to talk about how real estate's appreciated over the long haul, because you'll see these naysayers saying, no, stay home and rent. Real estate's going to crash. I'm just going to rip off some numbers here, Bruce.
Let's hear it.
Average price of a house in 1940, $3,000. In
1940.
1950, it had doubled to 7,300.
So 10 years, doubling your money.
1960, up another 30%, 12,000.
30% from the previous 10 years?
Yep, from 1950 to 1960.
Wow.
1970, doubled, 27,000, over doubled. 1980, about 73,000. 1990, 151,000. And then this article
that
stopped
doubled again.
And I believe, I don't have the numbers for 2000 or 2010. I'll have that article for you next time. But you can just see real estate over the long haul. If you've been paying rent, you've lost all that money. If you own the home, you're making money. And it's just, this is where I just think people need to get into a house as soon as they can and teach their kids, give your kids the down payment part, gift them some money. They can do that, right?
Absolutely. There's opportunities
get them
to
into
gift
something.
Family members.
If they qualify, they've got a job and you pay. And here's the thing, Bruce, if they pay their bills on time, are they going to have a good credit score? Can you get them a loan?
They will.
Most of the time, yeah, they're going to be in the 6 at least.
Will.
So,
yeah.
And you're going to help them work that credit score to get it up some.
And I think absolutely we help folks that don't even qualify today, and we nurture them and put them on a journey to homeownership. And that may be you. That may be why you are so hesitant to get into the market. But you think about that. If you're listening to this show right now, and it may be you, or it may be somebody you know, it might be one of your kids or grandkids that you care about, and you think, I can go back 5 years and I know, Leroy, he wanted to buy a home, but he was afraid to do it or didn't qualify because of his credit. Well, does he still have the same problem? Is his credit still the same way? And I will tell you, coming from me now, Cleve was smarter than I was growing up. I made I had crappy credit. I didn't pay things on time. I had trouble saving money. I spent money I didn't have. I mean, he didn't do all that because he had your folks that kind of kept you in line, right? And I didn't have anybody. So I went down the Willie path, and it didn't work out well for me. And until I got that straightened out, and I realized that if I could do it, anybody could do it. And so my mission in life is to help those people that are like, oh man, I'll never be able to do this. You absolutely will be able to do it. You just have to be committed to doing it. And you think about it, Cleve, is there anything ever that you wanted in life that you really, really wanted? You probably got it. If you wanted it, like that gorgeous car that you have out there, that Corvette that you drive. That was
on my vision board.
So it was on your vision board. You really, really, really wanted it. Now, it was still a stretch for you. I know it was. It's a stretch, right? But you got what you wanted because you set your mind to it. If you want to buy a home and you want to quit renting, you have to set your mind to it and be willing to make whatever changes that is to your lifestyle.
Our class is an opportunity to listen to two people that have owned millions in real estate. And
absolutely,
I've seen what it takes. I make money off my real estate. My real estate's funding my retirement. And how to do this is not rocket science. It literally is not rocket science.
No,
I'm a college dropout.
Yeah.
I never cracked a book in high school and got decent grades. But when I got to college, I was like, nope, not for me. Went straight to work. But it is something that is easily done. And, 3 homes, you buy your primary, year or two later, buy your next primary, year or two after that, buy your next primary. You got 3 homes. You probably got over $1 million in real estate.
Absolutely.
Easily in Central Florida.
Absolutely.
And that's going to keep going up, as I just talked about in those articles. I mean, I remember my parents' first house when we moved to Mims, Florida. They first moved from New Orleans. I remember it being like 13, this is the 60s. So it was like 13,000, 14,000 on an acre of land for a little starter
crazy
home.
It's funny that you say that because if we can always go back in time and look at the money we would have made if we would have been a little smarter, right?
Yep. No, I just think buy and hold real estate is where it's at. Flipping is very, very hard.
Unless you're a professional flipper.
If you are, but I've met very, very few of those. I've met way many more landlords that own multiple properties, anywhere from 10 to 100, that make a lot more money than flippers, and they're a lot more prominent. But that buy and hold, it keeps paying you. It's just a real estate, having your own real estate hedge fund. Yeah. So people want to reach you, Bruce. What's the number to call?
407-250-9144. That's 407-250-9144, or WeBringYouHome.com. So how do they reach you?
All right. Loveland Properties. You need to sell a house, buy a house, or you want your investment property managed. Call me at 407-352-8118 or go to cleveloveland.com.
Before you get into that article that you've got right there, because he always pulls up these just articles that make us chuckle. But, it's funny you were talking about your house back in Mims. My dad was a small builder in Maitland. He built about anywhere from 12 to 25 homes per year, relatively small custom home builder. And I was driving through Maitland in a subdivision that he built some homes in. And I remember those homes sold for about $75,000. And that would have been in the mid 70s, because he passed away in 77. And those homes were going for about $62,000. Those homes right now are close to $1 million.
Yeah.
Close to $900,000 for a house in that neighborhood.
Well, location always comes into play. And this is why you and I have jobs to help people, because not everybody fits into one, round peg, square hole, and you've got to help them with their income or their credit, or maybe getting tax returns done.
Absolutely.
I've got to help them with what's your best situation. I've got so many people right now, Bruce. I think this is going to be a great year. I had like 5 families over the past couple of weeks. 2 upsizing, 3 downsizing. 2 of those are getting ready to retire, so that they want to sell the big house. And most of them are going to, you don't want to hear this, but most of them are selling. By the time they sell, they're going to be able to pay cash for the next house. So they're selling for $500, buying at $250 or $300. And believe it or not, there's a lot of homes out there right now, Bruce. The inventory has grown. A lot of places you can get a house. I've got a couple listings. A lot of places you can get a house in the 2s or the 3s And then it just depends on, does this work for your family? Is it the right location?
Sure.
So
And
those
if
things are
it's
out
your
there.
first house, you don't have to have it be the Taj Mahal. You can buy a starter home, get into something right now, but stop the cycle of renting. Once you buy a home, you don't go back to renting until you're ready to go into the assisted living facility. You always want to own a home.
Yep. So, and then Bruce, we were teasing the part about, rates right now, they're in the sixes.
Yep.
Fed's probably not cutting rates for a couple of months, but so they should hover in the sixes, hopefully, unless Sleepy Joe wakes up and does something to the economy, forgives some more student loans or something. But we can get a rate, like you've helped some of my buyers get a rate starting in the fours. Tell everybody about the buy down.
So that's called a 2-1 buy down. It's a temporary buy down. Now, some people think, oh, temporary, then that's an adjustable rate mortgage. It's not an adjustable rate mortgage. But let's just say an interest rate today was prevailing for you at about 6.75%. So then we do what's called a 2-1 buy down that's funded by the seller. So the seller's actually making up the difference for a lower rate. So we would start on a 2-1 buy down, your rate would start in that case at 4.75% for the first 12 months. Then it would go to 5.75%, and then it would finish at the 6.75%.
And probably right now last year we were bemoaning rates in the sevens and almost in the eights for a little while. So right now, if rates are going to come down this year, they might only need a 1-1 buy down, right?
They might need a 1-1 buy down, which would mean you would, if the rate today was 6.75%, you'd get 5.75% for a year.
Just for the first year. And then if you refi them, anytime if they get a 2-1 or a 1-1 and there's money left in that account,
that's correct.
It's going to go towards reducing the principal.
That's right. That's your money.
That's what's great about it instead of paying points.
And it was seller funded, but the seller can't get the money back. It's your money now. Now, sellers, if you're listening to me, it's a great way for you to market your properties. And listen, if you bought a $500,000 property and you gave the buyer 3% concession, they'd have enough money to pay for a 2-1 buy down and cover a good portion of their closing costs. And that's the way you get a house sold. So now, if you've obviously got a house that you've got it on the market for 3 days and you got 15 offers on it, you may not need to do that, right?
No.
But you don't need to do that. But I'm just telling you, if you're not getting a lot of traction, you can attract more people with a buy down. If you have questions about it, call me. I will tell you what the numbers look like so that you can properly negotiate with a buyer. If you're a seller or if you're a buyer, call me and I'll tell you how to get that program. 407-250-9144 or webringyouhome.com.
I got an email here, Bruce, real quick. We got about a minute, 2 minutes left. And I got an email, somebody asking me the hottest areas of town. Now, location always comes into play. 3 most important things in real estate. But what this does, then once again, we got to break it down for that person's needs. Do you have 2 6-year-olds, twins that are going to be need great schools? Or you want to be close to the private school? Do you need to be close to work? And one spouse works in the north end of town, one spouse works in the south. All these things come into play. And then it's how much house do you need?
Right.
So this is what a realtor does, sorting this out for you. And, some people might not want to live in Davenport and fight I-4 for 30 minutes or 45 minutes every morning.
Well, not if they live in Orlando.
To come to work in Orlando.
Right.
So all these things come into play. But I would say when you buy, one of the best things as a realtor, we help our clients. If you're buying at 500, we want to get you in the neighborhood where the homes go up to 6 or 7.
Right.
If you can, get a view.
If possible.
If don't look at the, over your neighbor's fence. If you can, get the one with the conservation area or a water
Well, it's
view,
interesting you say the hottest areas. So let's just put this in perspective. Let's just say we're taking one of our hot areas like Lake Nona, okay?
Yeah.
Now, if you are looking to buy and you have enough to go from 550 to 950, then Lake Nona might be right for you. Yeah. But you can't go, I want Lake Nona, and you're a 350 buyer. That's not likely going to happen. You might
be in a shack out by Moss Park out there. There might be something left out there for you.
Not likely going to happen. So you have to fit into what your budget is at that particular time in life. And if I look back, there's places that I bought and lived in that I look back at now and I'm like, wow, that was a little rougher than I thought it was going to be. But it was still a good investment and I got into the real estate game. Most of the time when you have somebody come to you and it's like you just said, hey, I got a buyer and they're going to pay cash. The money didn't come from their 401k. Yeah. It came from the sale of another house.
Yeah. And on the location, well, we've only got a couple seconds.
Yep.
407-352-8118 for Loveland Properties, Bruce.
Yep. Or you can reach the Loan Arranger at 407-250-9144. We'll be back in 5.